Society conditions us to believe that happiness lies in having things, but in fact, true happiness lies in having awareness and building connections. Hey y'all, welcome back to the Interlinked podcast. I am your host, Ray, and I'm so glad you're here. If this is the first episode that you're listening to, you definitely picked a good place to start. So in this podcast, a goal of mine is and always has been to give y'all a place to feel seen and to feel heard and to feel like there's somebody out there going through the same shit you're going through. Whether I'm struggling or I'm thriving, I know that my situations can always be used as a learning experience, and rather than keeping all that growth to myself, I try to frame it in a way that's useful and digestible for all of you. So, in today's episode, we're taking a deeper look at overconsumption because it gets to a point where you wonder, what would my life look like if I wasn't constantly digging to find that shirt or rummaging through my drawer to find that hair tie or stuffing a container in the cabinet knowing damn well everything's about to come flying out the second you open that again. So whether you consider yourself a person who acquires a lot of stuff or is more minimal, I think there's certain areas that we all struggle with, whether that's clothing or kitchen gadgets or hair products or shoes or, decorations for your apartment, whatever it may be. We're all kind of in this boat where we buy things that we don't need to some degree. But I mean, our society thrives on us buying. We buy for holidays, we buy for seasons, we buy for pleasure, we buy for status, we buy for influencing others or for being influenced. We buy for improving our confidence. We buy for making life easier. We buy to fill a void. Whatever it may be, the list goes on and on and on. We're all buying and society loves to see it. However, when you find yourself drowning in stuff, and I don't just mean material items, that could be apps on your phone, notifications, photos, emails, getting those retail texts like, da-da-da, is back in stock. Who gives a fuck? Like, we all just have so much clutter, and it makes you realize maybe all of these things are causing more harm than good. Maybe they're taking a toll on my mental health that I really haven't even processed because it's just become so normal. It's such a part of my routine to get that text and just be like, oh, I'll just delete it. Or to trip over that item. Okay, yeah, I'll just shove it in a closet. And rather than getting to the root of the reason why we have all of these things, we choose to be like, fuck, I keep getting this. And we just ignore it. Like, it's okay to some degree when really we have a say in the matter. We can choose to remove ourselves from the mailing list. We can choose to get rid of junk. We would rather suffer and struggle to find things and trip over things and be annoyed by junk rather than just cleaning it up, because it feels easier to just throw something in a cabinet than it does to actually say, oh, I don't use this item. Maybe I should get rid of it. Maybe I don't need 20 of this thing. I only need one. There's a level of attachment that we feel to our items, especially materialistic ones. And it makes it really challenging to try to declutter or to try to say, yeah, I'm going to take this thing to donation, because we constantly convince ourselves, oh, at one point I'll wear this. For this event, I'll wear this. Or, oh, maybe I'll hold on to it because this person would like it. And it's like, bro, just get rid of it. So I covered a lot of this in my minimalism episode back in February. This was episode 5. So if you want to check that out, you'll get a more step-by-step way to declutter. This episode, I wanted to take a deeper dive as to why we are like this. If you're like this as well, why are we constantly consuming? Why are we constantly battling the issue of having too much stuff? And especially because social media makes it fucking impossible to feel content with the things that we already own. I would say everyone struggles with this to some degree. If you don't, consider yourself lucky. But if you do, tap in. So, the main thing that actually sparked my inspiration for this episode was my latest trip. I went to Japan, and before going on any trip, I do my research. All right, it's not much, it's nothing crazy. If you want more info on that, I actually did an episode on how to plan a solo trip. You can get into that later. Anyway, I do some research. It's nothing crazy, but one thing that I did know before heading there is Japan is a very consumer heavy society. Okay, to the point where there's people on TikTok showing you how to pack one empty suitcase with another full suitcase inside of it so that when you get to Japan, you can fill the empty one with all the shit that you buy on the trip. Because they're going in thinking, I'm going to Japan, I'm about to get snacks, I'm about to get skincare, I'm about to get souvenirs, all the things. I need a whole ass empty suitcase to do that. And it wasn't until I was actually there that I realized just how much stuff they have available for you to spend money on. So, you go on any trip, you're going to be eating, you're going to be dining out, you're going to be buying souvenirs, whatever. Japan, though, they do it differently. They literally have a store called Don Quixote, which has 6 floors. Okay. 6 floors of stuff ranging from makeup, bag charms, kitchenware, snacks, clothes, whatever you could possibly fucking need, they got it. On the 6th floor, they even have a whole floor of just suitcases. So if you're traveling to Japan and you didn't follow that TikTok hack, no problem. You can just buy one there. So I actually Googled this store because I wanted to make sure I was pronouncing it right, and still don't judge me if I'm not. But anyway, I guess for some background on this store, if anyone cares, it was named after a literary character from a novel because the founder was inspired by the character's spirit of challenging convention and pursuing dreams. So, like the hero, the store defies traditional retail with its aggressive approach to the discount market and its wide variety of goods from convenience and amusement to discount. While I, of course, took part in buying some things to take back home, I definitely felt overwhelmed. Being that I'm somebody who does not like to feel overstimulated by noises and visuals and all of that, this was a sensory nightmare for me personally. It literally felt like being in a casino, but instead of slot machines, it was a lip plumper with a video of it being applied and a repeating jingle to go along with it and hundreds of thousands of other options in case you didn't like that one. Of course, with one goal in mind. Sparking your dopamine related reward pathways. Yup, say that 5 times fast. Now, this is not the only place in Japan that I felt overstimulated in. There was a lot of noises, a lot of visuals, a lot of things going on everywhere that you might not see in America. And I think they're very strategic for what they choose to incorporate throughout. So I'm going to take a slight detour to talk about it because this really had me contemplating marketing strategies and consumerism and why we buy things and the way that we feel when we buy things or the environment of the place that we're buying things in. Because it really is that deep. It's not just, oh, I go into a store, I feel the desire to buy this thing. We are constantly being coerced, whether we know it or not, into feeling a certain way so that we do a certain thing. And this is not just in shopping, it's in a lot of things, but I want to talk about it today through a lens that I personally experienced, which was traveling abroad in Japan, and how that experience caused me to take a deeper look at the way that I exist in my day to day and also my motivation for buying. What is the reason that this company was able to convince me to get this item or this product? Why did I feel like I actually needed it versus something else that I can just pass up? So in Japan, one of their major strategies is audio cues. And what I mean by that is at every corner, no matter where you're at, you could bet your ass you're going to see a Family Mart, a Lawson's, or a 7-Eleven. And if you're not familiar, these are all gas station type. Okay, so you go in there, you can find your drinks, you can find your snacks, anything that you would go to, a Sheetz or a Speedway for. Now, not only are these bitches everywhere, they're open 24/7, and they all have something in common. As soon as you walk in the door, they all play a very distinct jingle, okay? All different, but it's like a signal. You walk in and you know, okay, I'm in Family Mart. You walk in, you know, oh, I'm in 7-Eleven. You walk in, you know, oh, I'm in Lawson's. Maybe you weren't paying attention to which noise goes with which place, but for me, I was particularly fascinated with all of this. So, because I am assuming maybe you haven't been to Japan, I'm going to actually insert clips so you guys can hear them too. And we can all just imagine we're in Japan for a second, okay? All right, so first up, you are now entering Family Mart. So this one is the one I feel like people remember the most, and it's just nostalgic for me to hear because obviously I've been there. But when I first heard it, it really gives like old video game, like if you were to play on, a Nintendo or something like that, that's what this is giving to me. And it's just like a very distinct noise. Anyone that hears this and they've been to Japan, they know they're in one of those stores. And specifically, they're in Family Mart. Okay, next, you are now stepping foot into Lawson's. Nothing crazy, but one could say it kind of sounds like hello, hello. Like it has like that two beat. So it's like, I don't know, you just feel like you're being greeted. That's at least how I feel hearing it. Okay. And then lastly, we have 7-Eleven. Again, I feel like this sounds like a little hello, like welcome to 7-Eleven, where we know you're back again. It's short and sweet, but it's like, it's that routine. Oh, you came here for your coffee this morning and now it's 1 a.m. and you need a little beverage. I get it. Welcome back. So for all these places, no matter what the jingle is, it's all triggering a Pavlovian cue, which if you're not sure what that means, think about when you're at school and the bell rings and you instantly are like, oh shit, I gotta pack up my stuff. I've gotta get to my next class. You might feel stress. You might feel some type of tension because you know you're about to go to math class and you hate math. So without you having to even think at all, that audio has the power to trigger an emotional response and cause you to feel some type of way. You're not even thinking about it. You don't expect it. It's almost like a reflexive thing. Noise happens, emotion follows. So when I say Pavlovian cue, this term was actually coined after a Russian physiologist named Ivan Pavlov. And this dude showed dogs could be conditioned to salivate just at the sound of a bell. Okay, so presenting the food, ringing the bell. Now when they hear the bell, they're expecting a plate. You might also see this when you decide to watch a movie. You're expecting to eat some popcorn. You're expecting to eat your favorite junky snacks because that's what you do. You sit on the couch, you hit the remote, you put on a movie. What are we expecting? We're expecting some snacks. You might not even be hungry. You might have just ate dinner, but you'll make room. Like your body literally makes room for you to eat those things because it expects it. On a similar note, you might be walking home from dinner in Japan and then you're like, oh, I need to get a water bottle for the hostel, whatever. You pop in a 7-Eleven, you hear that familiar cue. Suddenly you're like, ooh, I'm kind of hungry. I'm kind of thinking about what they have in here that I typically get. And now suddenly I want to get an onigiri. Like I'm not even hungry, but I just want it. I crave it because that's what that jingle, that's what stepping foot into here just did to me. They also have these audio cues at their train station. So let me play a few of those for you. And here's another one. Okay, last one for safe measure. So, same concept. You hear any of these and you know you're at the train station. And it could be deeper than that. Maybe, they're doing it to like calm commuter stress and tell people, yo, the train's about to take off, doors are closing, but I mean, you have time until the song ends, that type of thing. But again, You hear it, you hear any variation of it, and you know where you're at. It's a safe, familiar place. You're going home from work, you're heading to work. You might be visiting your parents or whatever causes you to get on a train. You're feeling the emotions associated with that experience just based on the sound alone. Okay, so you might be wondering, how the fuck does all of this have to do with overconsumption? That's the point of the episode, right? So it's no secret that there's obviously a lot of thought that goes into branding and into marketing for certain companies, for all companies. They hire somebody to focus purely on this. How can we get people to not feel like, oh, I just want this thing? We want to get them to feel like they need it. What can we do as a brand to get that level of desire from our customers? And it goes well beyond the cute packaging and the creative illustrations. If a product can get you to feel something, they've done their job. Not only thinking, oh, I really think this looks cute, it makes you feel nostalgic, or it makes you remember an experience or feel like you're transported to a place. That is good marketing. That is what gets you from picking up an item, thinking it's cute, and deciding to put it back down versus picking up an item, feeling something, and adding it to your cart. They understand that they're not just selling a product, but rather the world or the lifestyle that comes with it. So are they shooting for rebellious? Are they shooting for professional, for luxurious, for peaceful? Who's their audience? What are they trying to get people to feel like they are when they buy this product? So for instance, you're not just buying the lotion for the smell, you're hoping to become a higher version of yourself when you apply it. You want to feel sexier or more elegant or maybe more playful. And you think, yeah, if I wear this product, that's going to get me there. Or let's say you're shopping online and you're looking at a piece of clothing. The model in the photo or the aesthetic of the website as a whole is giving you that impression that if you just buy this sweater, you will become that girl. You're not just buying the item, you are buying the world that comes with it. You're buying the lifestyle. You're giving off that aura as soon as you purchase this thing. Companies work really hard to curate this illusion by incorporating the same concepts as the convenience stores in Japan. What they want to do is establish familiarity and brand identity. The psychology behind this is very simple. It all goes back to your senses. You hear something, you see something, you feel something, you smell something enough, you will begin to associate it with that brand or that company. For instance, we all know the smell of Hollister, we all know the smell of Abercrombie like the back of our hand. If I smell that smell, I know exactly where I'm at. This could be true for your own scent to others, or maybe an ex's scent to you. Whenever you smell it, you think of that person. You think of that experience. You think of being in middle school and being like, damn, I'm seeing all these ads of these girls that are skinny as fuck. They're wearing Abercrombie. I want to be just like them. And as soon as I smell that smell, I'm in the store. I'm seeing the products. I'm feeling the lifestyle. I'm getting all the hot guys. Like, all of that was their brand identity. Granted, they still have the same smell. I think they've switched up who their audience is, but what remains is that feeling. For me, for my age group, we all feel the same thing. I know we do. We're transported back to middle school, and whatever that feels for you, whether that was a pleasant experience or a yearning experience of trying to be the girl you could never be, like it was for me, that's what I feel when I smell Abercrombie's scent. On that same note, we do this whether you are intentional with it or not. You could think about your social media page. When people see a specific lighting or specific font or whatever stylistic choices you typically make, they might think of you. They might think, oh, that's her post. I already knew before I even saw the caption or the username. I knew that was her post because she always uses this filter, for instance. I mean, I do that on this podcast. At the beginning and end of every episode, I play the same song. My hope is you associate it with my podcast and not anybody else's. That you'll hear it and you'll be like, yup, that's interlinked. What is she about to talk about today? Like, I hope that you associate it with mine. And that's why it kind of took me a while to even pick out the sound that I was using, because it does matter. It's your brand. It's your identity in a way. So I wanted something that was kind of playful, good energy, a little bit of like hip hoppy. I don't know. When I heard my sound that I ended up going with, it felt like me, and that's why I chose to stick with it. So when you hear this, I'm hoping you think of me. And the hope extends deeper than that. It's not only that you recall the place or the store or the podcast, but that when your senses are triggered, it also cues a feeling beyond just the brand recognition. That your mouth is actually watering, thinking, ooh, I just stepped foot into Lawson's. I hear that bell, and now I'm like, immediately need the egg salad sandwich. Or just maybe you hear my intro, you hear my voice, my soothing little quote at the beginning, and you're like, wow, a sense of peace is washing over me knowing the interlinked episode is about to start. It's going to give me some solid ass advice. It's going to make me laugh. It's going to give me some insight on an issue that I didn't even know other people were dealing with too. Wow, crazy. So at that rate, the cues don't feel like advertising. They feel like a nostalgic invitation to something or some place you already know and love. They can also trigger an emotion or a longing for something you might actually not need in the moment. So feeling hungry as soon as you sit on the couch to watch a movie, or craving that egg salad sandwich when you hear the jingle, all those examples that I gave you prior, stepping foot into Abercrombie, smelling the scent, craving a new wardrobe. All of this leads me to the argument that we are often victims of consumption. We lack the willpower to recognize when we're being manipulated and coerced into buying things that we don't actually need. Because if things line up just right, they have the perfect imagery, they have a cute font, the packaging makes you feel like you're back in 5th grade in your favorite teacher's classroom, they got you. Before you even knew it, before you even make the decision out loud that you're buying an item, it's already set in your mind. They did such a good job of getting you to feel something. And that's the key to any type of marketing, any type of branding. That's what they want from you, but you have to be stronger, bro. Stop telling yourself, oh, I just have a shopping problem. Use this awareness to shop smarter. Acknowledge when you're falling into a brand's trap versus when you actually need an item, or when the item actually makes sense for your lifestyle, for your aesthetic, for your world, not the world that you're trying to buy. Try to take things at face value and picture yourself in them rather than constructing a fantasy based on, the environment of the ad or the model's body. Because once you try that thing on and you think, oh, I would wear this with my jeans that I have in my job, in my environment, does it actually make sense for me? Or was I only buying it because I thought I was about to also be frolicking on the beach in fucking Hawaii? Like, that's not where you're going to be wearing it. So just keep it real with yourself and think, is this practical to my lifestyle? You might think, oh, I try this on and I feel like I'm living in New York, la la la. And it's like, you don't even get those temperatures where you live and you're buying a huge fur coat. Like, let's be real with ourselves. It's so easy too when you thrift because it's like, oh, it's only $7. Either way, it's just going to become clutter because it doesn't make sense for your lifestyle. It only made sense in your head. So for me and my lifestyle, still on the note of traveling, I realized something. If this is going to be a major part of my life, I need to majorly lessen my load. I didn't do the TikTok hack. What I did do instead was I brought my big shitty suitcase that I've had since I can remember, probably since I was like 8 years old, honestly. I had my big shitty suitcase and I had a backpack. Doesn't sound too crazy except for the fact that the suitcase was already pretty much full to capacity before I even arrived in Japan. I think I was a little scarred from packing too light for my prior trip to Portugal, so I went overboard. All right. It's hard too because I love fashion, and especially in a place like Japan, I wanted to pop my shit. Like, I want to show my sense of style, and it's hard to do that when you're trying to cram everything into a small itty bitty little suitcase. Now, this did bite me in the ass because having this big shitty suitcase caused a lot of issues for me. And these issues started the second I got off the plane. All right. I land in Japan. I'm going to grab my bag off the belt. It's spinning round and round. I'm seeing the same suitcases keep coming around, and I'm just kind of wondering, where is mine? Right. Well, then I see a sign on the belt that has my name on it and it says see an attendant. So I go up to them. They tell me my bag is delayed. Well, that's great. So anyways, I get a slip. I end up going to my hostel anyway without the bag because they say it's going to take a couple days, and what am I about to do? Can't do anything. So I get to my hostel with no suitcase. This wouldn't have happened if I didn't check a bag, and I also wouldn't have to have almost missed my connection at a different point on my trip because of baggage claim. The other thing is I stay in hostels that have very limited storage space. Okay. I'm talking about some of them have a tiny little locker that doesn't even fit a book bag. Others, they might have a bigger space, but none of these would have ever fit my fucking luggage. Just to give you some perspective, I had a big ass bag. So what that meant was I was constantly rummaging to find things. So I was looking for my clothes. I was having to go inside a bag within a bag to find something. And then as for my toiletries, I just brought way too many, but not enough of the right thing. Like I ran out of toothpaste, but I had a full size of like something else that I did not ever use. The other major issue I had was traveling from place to place. Again, going from one hostel to the next, I was traveling via train. And so I would get on, I have this big ass fucking suitcase. I'm trying to squeeze into the train, out of the train, through the station, mind you. They have like raised floors. So when you would try to drag your luggage, you would constantly get caught on some type of ridge in the ground. And for me, my suitcase was so heavy that every bump was like ripping my arm off. For one of our commutes, we actually were traveling from Tokyo to Osaka. This required us to get on what was known as an express train. So what you had to do was for your luggage, you would put it in the back of the train where there was a large gap between the last seat and the wall. And that's where I stored my large suitcase, right? Well, this was all cool and fine until it was time to get off the train, because as we were getting off, people were getting on. Me being a polite, courteous person, I'm like, oh, okay, I'll just let all of these people go. They just keep coming on. I don't know when it's going to be my turn to get off, but hopefully I'm cool. I finally get my luggage, and as I'm heading out the door, it's literally closing. Like I almost got trapped in the door. My friend had to literally grab my suitcase and pull it along with me because I literally thought I was going to get taken with the train. So that was traumatizing. But if that wasn't enough of a story, I decided let's get rid of the shitty suitcase and let's buy a new one or two. So I bought a new suitcase that's not as big by any means, but it's definitely a checked bag. And then I bought a carry-on. These are both rolling bags that I needed to roll along with me leaving Osaka. So my friend and I, we both didn't have our service turned on, but the cool thing about Google Maps is once you pick a route, you can save it and you no longer need a connection to follow the route unless you miss your train like we did. We went the wrong direction. So we get off at the platform, we realize we're going the wrong way. We're kind of struggling because now we can't use Google Maps. We got to just figure it out. And for some reason, it was just really confusing that day. So we find this couple that also has luggage and we're like, are you going to the airport? They say, yes, we're tagging along with them. We love to see it. However, we find that we are now rushing to get to this train because the next one doesn't happen for like 30 minutes after, let's just say. And we're already kind of running late for the airport. They're running late, so they're trying to make it too. We are sprinting through the fucking train station. Okay, running. I have 2 bags and a backpack. Now we get to a point, a little fork in the road where we have to go upstairs. And I'm talking a lot of stairs. All right. The train stations in Japan had hella fucking stairs. If you were lucky, you could find an escalator or an elevator, but sometimes that just wasn't in the cards. So what happens? We get to the elevator. I, again, courteous and polite, let somebody go in front of me. I don't make it on the elevator. They are all heading up. I slide my fucking suitcase into the elevator. I run around with my big bag. I'm hopping up the fucking stairs as fast as I can. I meet them up there. We end up making the train. That was also traumatizing. So what did I learn? I have too much shit. Like, this shit was really a movie and not a good one. So, for my next trip, this was so triggering to me that I decided I need to take on the true backpacker lifestyle. And if I'm going to do that, my new goal is I cannot have a big bag. Unless I'm going to just one location, I don't even plan on using the checked bag that I bought. I will be using the carry-on and a backpack, or a big backpack and a day pack, because we're not doing that ever again. I think this will also help with overconsumption because it's going to force me to question, do I really need the souvenir? Do I really need that piece of clothing? Because I physically can't fit a lot of shit. Like, there is no room. So what do I truly need versus what is just a want? Now, here's the thing about me. I love to shop. I love to browse. Hunting and gathering is in my blood. However, discernment while shopping is key. So, here's some questions you can ask yourself if you also struggle with a little impulse buying. Will I still want this item in 5 years? If I walk away, will I still be thinking about it in a week? Is it my style or is it trendy? Would I buy this at full price? Does it align with my values? Am I buying it out of a place of fantasy or am I buying it out of a place of practicality? Honestly, I can't lie. I feel like I did pretty good in Japan. I didn't splurge too much. I got a couple pieces of jewelry, a couple souvenirs for family, friends, whatever, and a couple things of clothes. I also did, of course, have to get the tigers. What would I be in Japan without getting them? That was definitely not a need, but they're cute. I would even go as far to say I wasn't as inclined to splurge out the ass because I was having such a good time with the people I was with and building connections and all of that. Like, when I say we buy out of filling a void, that is often what we're doing when we buy things. And because I wasn't in that emotional state where I need to buy to feel something, I was already feeling a lot of things. I wasn't as persuaded by the marketing or feeling the need to buy something. And it's funny because, like clockwork, when I get home, instantly buying shit. And it makes you wonder, why am I doing that? Why am I feeling the need to instantly start purchasing as soon as I get home? And for me, I think it stems from boredom. Like, the apps are kind of like another social media for me. So yeah, I might have all these cool pieces in my closet already, but scrolling through eBay and Poshmark and Depop and Facebook Marketplace and Pinterest, it makes me feel like there's a million things that I still need. And then there's that addiction piece where it's like, if I just scroll a little bit longer, I'm going to find exactly what I'm looking for. And 10 minutes turns into 30, which turns into hours. I don't know if anybody else does this, but I know I don't need any of it. The illusion of that lifestyle that I can embody if I own something, that's what's getting me. You see a cool girl on Pinterest having this purse and it's like, I need that fucking purse. You see somebody in a North Face puffer and the Arc'teryx hat and it's like, ooh, wait a minute. There is a simpler life out there. I just want to wake up every day and see the mountains and blow off some steam riding my board. It's like, bitch, you live in Ohio. You know what I'm saying? Like, I fully will be captivated by a certain aesthetic to the point where I'm like, yeah, I'm just going to move there. I will move there and I will wear that and that's going to be me. So in that way, you almost recognize, wait, it's deeper than just boredom. It's also using this shopping as a means to escape reality. It's a signal telling you you're not happy with your current lifestyle and you're open to all these things, to living the New York City lifestyle or living the snowboarder lifestyle, because you want something different. You want change. And so for me, I do be bored, but also I am on this quest of, I don't know where I want to be. That's a whole nother thing. But anyways, we use shopping, we use consumption to feel something. And I didn't feel the need to scroll on my phone, go on social media, go on Depop or any of that when I'm traveling. But as soon as I get home, it's immediately a need. It's immediately a part of my routine because it's the only way that you feel as though you're escaping your reality for a second. So, when I originally began scripting for this episode, I was actually reading a book my friend got me for my birthday called The Creative Act: A Way of Being by Rick Rubin. And basically, this is a book meant for creatives. It's meant for people who feel blocked to create, for people who feel they're not good enough, for people who just struggle to bring their ideas and concepts to life, and just to trust that process and enjoy it and be present throughout, and really just motivating people to either get started or to keep going. So, as a creative myself, I felt really inspired by his writing, and one section in particular caught my attention. This was a chapter titled Constraints and Rules. So, he argues that much of the artistic process is centered around rules and constraints. So, whether we're creating the rules, we're breaking the rules, or we're subconsciously following the rules, they can definitely dictate how a piece will unfold. As artists, sometimes there's constraints that exist just naturally, like access to materials or financial limitations or maybe time restrictions. Sometimes these constraints feel like limitations, but other times they're the reason for amazing creations. When we're forced to be innovative, we often unlock a perspective or tap into a level of intuition we didn't even know that we possessed. A lot of us would rather focus on these limitations and constraints and use them as excuses for why we're not creating, when instead we should be using them as reasons for why we are creating even better than we could before. So Rubin argues that there's actually power in limitations and that as artists, we should be imposing more of them onto ourselves. Because newsflash, we can make our own rules. We can decide to strip our options down to the bare minimum and see what can I create from that. He mentions this painter, Yves Klein, who decided to limit his color palette to one singular color. What was the outcome of this? He actually discovered a shade of blue that no one has seen before. Later, this color was named International Klein Blue. After him. Like, how fucking sick is that? So he chose this. He imposed his own constraint, his own restriction onto himself and became known for that. Rubin puts it this way. Every time we decide to play, we get to set a new set of rules. And there's no bad rules or good rules, according to him. He says there's no moral compass when it comes to these rules. Do they fit what you're trying to go for with this art or not? That's the only distinguishment between a good rule and a bad rule. And if you decide while you're working on this project, this rule is not working for me, then break it. Because once again, you hold the power to create, but you also hold the power to destroy. He gives a number of examples as to what kind of rules he's talking about. And when he gives these rules, the idea is you're trying to break out of your comfort zone. So for instance, if you always film with your camera, try filming an entire YouTube video just on your phone. Or if you always write with this certain pen, try to switch the pen out. And it doesn't even matter how big or small these switches are, because sometimes these things are so ingrained into our lifestyle that even the tiniest switch of pace can cause an entirely different result. You might learn something in the process, you might become more creative, you might recognize how something else wasn't working for you before, but now you have a way as to how you can work around it. He says that creating these rules is a way of structuring your awareness, which I love because you kind of wipe away all the noise. Like in the case of the artist who only decided to paint with blue, for instance. I'm someone who is easily overwhelmed by choices and options and just too many things happening. So if I were to strip it down to the basics, like in my closet or in my apartment, I think I also could come up with some really cool, innovative shit. And maybe it's not a new shade of blue, but it might very well be a cool ass outfit, or it might be a new idea for a podcast episode, or it might be a way to upcycle some things that I thrifted. You name it. I think for me, restrictions are definitely key. So I want you to think, how could you apply this to your life and to the conversation of overconsumption? Set some rules. Maybe you break them here and there, but only if it makes sense to. So a goal of mine is to limit my consumption, right? Yes, shopping at the thrift store is better than buying at the mall, but it doesn't excuse the fact that I still don't need the thing. It's time to work more with what we already own. And the first step to this is I need you to purge what you're easily able to part ways with. So I'm talking about the stained shirts, the ripped jeans, the prom dress that you're never going to wear again. All of that, it's got to go. As I mentioned, closets are not the only places drowning in junk. So I actually created a deep clean checklist that I'm going to insert a picture of now. And if you want to use this, print it out, tape it on your wall like I did, I would highly recommend that. I only have one thing checked off because I did just create it, but it always feels good to break things down into more digestible pieces. And for me, lists in any capacity are always going to be the way that I do that. So I need to know, okay, I'm cleaning the linen closet, but what does that mean? Oh, I have to get rid of old makeup. I need to organize my toiletries. I need to downsize on the bedding and the linens. Having those as separate check boxes, yeah, I need to do all of that. I need a step for it. Like, I want to know exactly what I have to do because the generalizing, it just doesn't work for me. So my goal with this checklist is to strip my apartment down to a space that serves me and my daily needs, to spend less time looking for things and more time creating things. There's another quote that I like that says, owning less is better than organizing more. Would you rather have to rearrange the cabinet 40 times because you got too lazy and decided to just throw stuff in there because it's a mess anyway? Or would you rather just have less items, that way it doesn't even have the chance to become a mess in the first place? Now, I like to say, oh, I'm a very sentimental person. I keep everything. And for me, collecting things definitely comes from a deeply rooted scarcity mindset. And maybe that's the case for you too, and you just don't even recognize it. So when I was younger, we were moving all the time, place to place. There was never really a true sense of stability or security. And I'm one of four. So clothes were passed down from my sisters, and food was kind of always an issue. Like, we either had a lot or not enough. You know, your sisters would eat your leftovers. So it's kind of always like, I need to hold on to everything that's mine. I think we were all conditioned to fear being wasteful. I had to finish the plate. I had to save the container. I had to keep the shirt. It just felt like I was attached to things that didn't even have real value. And I still find myself operating this way at my big age of 25, like removing the label on a jar to reuse it, or keeping a broken item and saying, oh, I'll fix it later. Yes, it's good to be sustainable, and there's nothing wrong with reusing a jar. I'm not saying that. It's just like, I already own enough jars. I already own enough of the thing that I just broke. Why are we trying to fix it? Why are we trying to hold on to literally everything? Throw it out. You know, at what point do you recognize that is junk, that is clutter, that I don't need to feel attached to? I don't need to feel empathy for the jar for throwing it out. You know what I'm saying? That is not a person. That is an item that I did eat. I finished it, and now it needs to go to the trash. I don't know. I get so attached to things that literally have no value. So I'll find myself having enough Tupperware for 30 people when I literally live alone. Like, it's crazy. It's junk. It's, you got Chinese, throw it out. Why are we rinsing it and trying to use it when you bought specific glass Tupperware for your meal prep and you have enough? You don't need any other Tupperware. You don't need to save that. Because at the end of the day, this shit piles up. things start to fill up. A cabinet that was once your essentials becomes a cabinet that you can't even close. So it is time to eliminate some junk. I think for me, if my home feels more minimal, traveling will also get easier because I'm not going to miss all my junk as much, and I'll be more creative with staple pieces. I'll recognize people see me for my fucking aura and not for all the cute shit I own. So having less will definitely benefit me in every aspect because whether it's, oh, I have to go to the store and get groceries. No, you don't. There is in fact food at home. Be more creative. You have rice, you have a vegetable. Why don't we just create this thing? Yeah, it's fun to try a new recipe and go to the store for all of those items that you need, but sometimes that can be pretty wasteful because there's things that are already on the verge of rotting and you just planned a whole meal around new items when you do have shit at home you can make something out of. So I'm going to give you a little bit of a challenge or challenges for you to try out. And I'm going to just say the timeline for these is a week because that's simple. So number one, I want you to wear only a certain pile of clothes and shoes for a week and see how many different combinations you can make. You can use your washer, but let's be creative. I don't want to put a number on this, like 2 shirts, 3 pairs of pants. You can create your own rules. Be as restrictive or as free as you want to be, but try to make it something that's going to challenge you. Okay, number 2, use only one social media for a week. You pick it. Again, I'm not going to say only Instagram, only TikTok. You decide. Number 3, use only the toiletries that can fit in one bag. Again, I don't know what bags you have, so you choose the size. But with this one in particular, I really think you're going to realize a lot of your skincare either needs to be pitched or donated. Whatever you want to do, give it to your sibling. That's cool. It might be expired. Like, let's just put it in a bag, see what you use in a week. Because when I travel, this becomes so obvious to me that I have so much shit at home I do not need. And who knows, when the week is up, you might just realize, yeah, this all needs to go. Okay. Number 4, use only one mug, one water bottle, maybe 1 to 2 plates, one pan, etc. Kitchenware stuff. Only use a limited amount. Again, this might make you realize I have way too much clutter in my kitchen. I'm a huge mug collector, so those are not going to be going anytime soon, but the Tupperware, as I already mentioned, gotta go. Okay, and lastly, number 5, go to the store and limit yourself to, let's just say 20 items. I'm not going to impose restrictions on proteins, fruits, vegetables, whatever. You can decide that yourself, but the idea is I want to see how many combinations, how many meals you can make out of that. So breakfast, lunch, dinner using those 20 items. Again, you make your own rules. Maybe you only get 10 items. I don't care. Just limit your items and make all the meals out of it. Now, because this is a lot, you can either choose to do all 5 of these things in 1 week, or maybe you break it up into multiple weeks, like you do a 5-week span. So the first week you're talking about the clothes, the next week you're talking about the social media, the next week you're talking about the toiletries, whatever. Or you could do any combination. So maybe you do 1 week where you choose 2 items. The next week you do the next 3. However you decide to split this up, I want you to try it out and I want you to document your process. Questions I want you to ask yourself: was this easy, hard, insightful? Question mark, question mark, question mark. Did you feel like you were living in lack? Did you feel less overwhelmed / overstimulated? How much longer could you continue living like this? Are there pieces of this that have become a part of your daily routine or that you would like to incorporate in your daily routine? What did you learn? If you do decide to do this, I would absolutely love to hear about it, obviously. So make sure you take detailed notes and hit me up. So to wrap things up, overconsumption is ingrained in our society. Now more than ever, each app that we go on is another form of advertisement. Having learned a little bit about how brands use psychology to increase consumption, it is now my hope that you can shop more consciously. So, to bring it back from the list I gave at the beginning, if you're buying for holidays, I know there's a ton of pressure to buy for friends and family and to show your love through your gifts, but the true gift is not the presents, but instead your presence. Okay? Repeat it back to me now. The true gift is not the presents, but it is my presence. Let's not forget, we have two hands. You don't need to be an artist to create a homemade gift that somebody's going to love. And I truly think that we're all artists. We're all creators in our own way. So whether that's art, like a painting or, a drawing, it could also be ceramics, or maybe you crocheted something, or maybe you built a little Lego set, or you did a puzzle. Like, this shit doesn't have to be the most intense art form you've ever seen. It could literally just be like, yo, I thought of you and I did this thing. Some of my favorite gifts have been the ones that were handmade because it shows a different level of appreciation and being seen. Just knowing that somebody didn't buy it at a store, they actually had to put the pieces together, whatever that means. Upcycling a thrifted piece is another way to save money and add your own personal touch to whatever the thing is that you're upcycling. I'm telling you, in this motherfucking economy, people will understand. If you're buying for seasons, again, thrift or create something from scratch. If you're buying for pleasure, what else brings you joy? What hobbies can you pick back up? If you're buying for status, stop living for others and start living for yourself. If you're buying for influencing others or being influenced, be more conscious of what you're promoting. Are they ethical? Are they a brand you actually support? And if you're being influenced, are you buying to become the girl who promoted it, or do you actually really align with it for yourself? If you're buying to improve your confidence, there are other ways to do so. There's confidence in knowing you can still look cool as shit in things you already own and not just following trend cycles. If you're buying to make life easier, are you just being lazy or do you actually need the thing? If you're buying to fill a void, look inward. The material goods will only satisfy you while they're shiny and new, and as we all know, that satisfaction will not last. That cycle will continue to repeat unless you can learn to find wholeness through connections and self-love. So I'll leave you with this. Once you clean that damn closet, you'll clean that damn mind. I hope that this episode resonated with you in some capacity, and just remember, society conditions us to believe that happiness lies in having things, but in fact, true happiness lies in having awareness and building connections. Quote by yours truly. Learn it, live it, love it. Okay, love y'all. See you next week. Hopefully if I stay on my shit and don't procrastinate.